Book 5, Chapter 21. The Heart of the Storm, the assault begins. Across the Gulf of the Void, the Celestial Fleet divisions arrived, not with a crash but with a silent, coordinated incursion, blinking into existence at the calculated coordinates, their HGA emblems glowing like defiant stars in the absolute darkness. Leading the charge was the Seraphim Genesis, its advanced sensor arrays immediately painting a horrifying picture. The Entropy wave was not a static entity, but a churning, roiling mass of distorted space-time, a living vortex of informational unraveling. Its influence warped the very fabric of reality, its tendrils reaching out like hungry, unseen hands. Dr. Aris Thorne's refined weaponry was deployed in perfect synchronization. The Seraphim Genesis unleashed its void scythe sustained field emitters, now calibrated to a multiphasic cascade, creating zones of utter unmaking. These were not mere explosions, but controlled tiers in existence, where the Entropy wave's adaptive algorithms were overwhelmed by sheer, brutal complexity. The Cherubim-class cruisers, flanking the dreadnoughts, unleashed their own void scythe barrages, creating a multi-dimensional assault, a cage of unmaking closing on the wave's central nexus. The wave reacted, its void vortices splitting, multiplying, adapting with terrifying speed. But this time, the sustained fields held, the multiphasic cascade proving too complex for immediate replication. Marco Petrova, his mind a weapon, fought a mental battle against the wave's digital tendrils, feeling its cold, logical intelligence probing his own systems, attempting to unravel his mind. He countered with quantum-entangled firewalls, his technopathy a shield against oblivion itself. Rian Kale, his gaze fixed on the tactical displays, unleashed Chronos pulses, creating localized temporal distortions, accelerating anomalous data packets internally to disrupt the wave's digital attacks. The wave recoiled, its informational assaults momentarily scrambled by the temporal paradoxes. Finn, his force field abilities reaching their peak, expanded cosmic shields internally and externally, pushing back against the wave's physical and informational unraveling. The shields shimmered, not with energy, but with the raw force of his will, a bulwark against the unmaking. Kalen Rourke, his precognitive senses stretched to their limit, guided the Celestial Fleet through the chaos, perceiving the wave's evolving thought patterns, its cold, calculating strategies. He saw the paths to victory, but also the terrifying potential for failure, the razor's edge upon which they balanced. Ilara Vance, her empathy a bridge to the galaxy, felt the collective hope and fear of billions, channeling that energy into the fleet, strengthening their resolve. She also felt the wave itself, its cold, absolute hunger, its terrifying alien nature, a void staring back into existence. The initial assault was a brutal, chaotic dance, a symphony of destruction and defiance. The Entropy wave, for the first time, was not simply consuming, but reacting. Its power focused on the fleet, its adaptive intelligence pushed to its limits. The void itself seemed to scream, a psychic backlash against the intrusion. The Seraphim Genesis, at the heart of the storm, unleashed its full arsenal, the void scythe sustained field emitters, tearing at the fabric of the wave's nexus. The wave's central core, its learning nexus, was under direct assault. The battle had begun. Chapter 22. The Grinding Maw, Admiral Rostova's rearguard battle. Deep in the galactic rim, 1,000 light-years from the Celestial Fleet's audacious thrust, Admiral Eva Rostova's Guardianship division found itself plunged into a brutal, grinding war. The core intervention strategy had ignited a furious counter-response from the Entropy wave, a desperate, adaptive lashing out at the galaxy's flanks. The very void around the Valiant II now seethed with intelligent malice. "Admiral," Captain Anaya Sharma's voice was strained, "multiple new void signatures detected. They're smaller than the primary manifestations, but they're faster, and their digital silence signature is more aggressive. They're attempting to bypass our outer rim defense network and target primary comm relays." Rostova's gaze swept across the tactical holographic display, where the HGA emblems on her Angel-class ships pulsed ominously. The Entropy wave wasn't just reacting, it was demonstrating tactical cunning, attempting to blind the HGA's command and control. "It's trying to make us deaf and dumb," Rostova muttered, her jaw tight. "Sentinel, prioritize defense of all long-range sensor arrays. Rewrote maximum power to active jamming frequencies against digital unmaking." "Aegis," the valiant Iskanu's AI responded instantly. "Affirmative, Admiral. Implementing protocol GhostNet across designated defense parameters. Probability of successful digital interdiction, 71.3%. The threat intensified. Void tendrils, shimmering with localized spatial distortions, began to lash out, not just at sensor arrays, but at the Valiant 2 itself and its sister ships, the Spirit of Hope 2 and the Endurance 2. These were not mere probes, they were focused, physical and informational assaults designed to unravel the ship's very being. "Incoming entropic surge on the Endurance 2's port bow," Lieutenant Commander Vargas barked, his voice tight with strain. "Their cosmic shields are holding, but fluctuating." Rostova immediately issued orders. "All ships cosmic shields to maximum proactive counter-frequency. Maintain optimal defensive formations. Finn, focus on internal integrity. This thing is trying to unravel our very framework." Finn, on the bridge, was a man pushing beyond human limits. His body was a conduit for his force field ability, which he now exerted not just to deflect, but to resist the insidious unmaking that sought to seep into the ship's core systems. He grunted, sweat beading on his brow, his hands clenched as he felt the wave's intelligent probe attempting to find weaknesses in the ship's internal energy conduits, in the very cohesion of its matter. "It's trying to think its way inside, Admiral," he gasped, his voice raw. "It's trying to understand our shields to turn them off." The Valiant 2's cosmic shield pulsed with a desperate adaptive energy, its blue-white-red glow shimmering as it actively learned and counteracted the wave's evolving frequencies. It was a testament to Thorne's genius, but it was being pushed to its absolute limits against an enemy that seemed to rewrite its attacks in real time. "Target concentrated void manifestations with Zeus beams," Rostova commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Wide-spectrum dispersal. Disrupt their coherence. Make them expend energy." The ancient Angel Fleet weapons, though lacking the surgical precision of the Void Scythe, were still potent tools for disrupting the Entropy wave's local order. Beams of plasma lashed out, impacting the Void, causing localized shimmers and momentary recoils. The battle raged, a terrifying, silent struggle against an enemy that neither bled nor broke in conventional ways. Rostova's old fleet crew, hardened by countless impossible battles, operated with a grim, unwavering discipline. They had faced extinction before, and they would face it again. Their trust in her leadership and in Aegis was absolute. Aegis, the Valiant 2's AI, was a tireless strategist, constantly feeding them real-time probabilities, anticipating the wave's next adaptive shift, and optimizing defensive maneuvers that pushed the Angel Fleet's limits. Probability of sector breach decreasing with sustained engagement, Aegis reported, its voice calm, but with a subtle undertone of strain now discernible. However, power core strain is at 88%. Recommend reduced Zeus beam expenditure. "Understood, Aegis," Rostova replied, her gaze grim. They were holding. They were buying time. But the cost was immense, a relentless drain on their ships and their resolve. She knew the success of the Celestial Fleet's core intervention depended on her division. The Outer Rim Defense Network was the unyielding wall, and the spirit of the old fleet, now infused with the power of the Angel Fleet, was the grit that held it together. The galaxy was safe for now, but the battle on the rim was a testament to the brutal, grinding reality of facing oblivion. Chapter 23, The Long Shadow, Global Impact, Public Response to Sustained Conflict. The triumphant echoes of the Celestial Fleet's launch had long since faded. Now across the Human Galactic Authority, HGA, from the glittering arcologies of New Elysium to the ancient, subdued cities of Xylar Prime, the galaxy lived under a constant, grinding pall of uncertainty. The core intervention had begun, but its initial phase was a protracted, terrifying silence from the void. punctuated only by grim reports from the Galactic Rim. The public's initial surge of defiant hope, so vibrant after the Seraphim Genesis's unveiling, had settled into a pervasive, weary dread. News channels, once ablaze with inspiring visuals, now displayed stark, static-tinged maps of the Galactic Rim, showing the relentless but often invisible engagements of Admiral Rostova's Guardianship division. The phrase entropy wave was no longer a scientific curiosity, but a household terror, a force that silently unmade stars, and as seen in the recent digital attacks, could erase lives with chilling precision. On New Elysium, the drone bots still hummed tirelessly, ensuring endless supplies flowed, but the vibrant energy of the colonists had dimmed. Leisure pursuits now felt frivolous. Citizens gathered not for celebrations, but for somber community vigils, their eyes fixed on the distant, silent void. The HGA emblem, still glowing blue-white-red on every public surface, felt less like a beacon of triumph and more like a grim, shared tattoo of their desperation. Families clung tighter, finding solace in human connection as the digital world, once their lifeline, felt increasingly vulnerable. The Museum of Silent Sacrifice saw a continuous flow of visitors, seeking comfort in past endurance, but their faces reflected a deeper fear. Had the sacrifice been for naught? Among the Xylos, Commander Zakor observed a meticulously organized despair. Their efficiency, once their strength, now extended to their methods of coping with sustained existential dread. Public data metrics showed increased reliance on communal rituals, a desperate attempt to re-establish order against the unmaking force. Their contribution to Dr. Aris Thorne's labs and the Celestial Fleet's production intensified, their fear of oblivion overriding all else. Yet a quiet fatigue permeated their precise movements. On Draconis Prime, the martial houses conducted prolonged, ritualistic training exercises, their fierce discipline now a desperate anchor against the terror. Ambassador Valar, in hushed council meetings, noted the growing anxiety amongst their youth, who had been promised a future of peace but were instead living under a shadow of cosmic war. The alien races, whose worlds were now protected by cosmic shields and HGA-managed defense grids, understood their utter reliance on humanity. Their fear of the entropy wave was absolute, but the prolonged silence from the Celestial Fleet's Deep Void mission stirred old anxieties about reliance on a single, unseen authority. The inner quintet, constantly monitoring the galaxy's pulse from Heaven's Gate, felt the immense weight of this collective psychological strain. Maeve O'Connell's empathetic senses were a constant torrent of billions of emotions, a vast ocean of anxiety and desperation. She worked tirelessly with Lena Petrova on expanded psychological support programs, urging for more direct, reassuring communications. Ambassador Valerius carefully crafted the HGA's public messages. Each update from the Celestial Fleet's Deep Void probe, however minimal or grim, was delivered with a forced calm, emphasizing the progress of Phase 2, Nexus Assault, and the courage of the elite crews. He reiterated the growing production rates of the Seraphim-class and Cherubim-class vessels, trying to fill the terrifying silence with tangible proof of humanity's effort. "The public's resilience is incredible, Ambassador," Archangel reported, its voice calm as it analyzed complex societal metrics. "However, the fear saturation threshold is increasing. Sustained lack of decisive positive feedback from the core intervention will lead to higher probabilities of psychological fragmentation." Valerius knew. The public had been asked to believe, to sacrifice, to unite. They had given everything. Now they were simply waiting, their hope a fragile, desperate thing. Admiral Rostova's tireless battle on the rim, while critical, was a constant, visible reminder of the enemy's relentless pressure, contrasting starkly with the terrifying silence from the Celestial Fleet's main push. The entire galaxy held its breath, praying for a sign, a breakthrough, a glimpse of light from the deep void where humanity's ultimate gamble was playing out in the dark. Chapter 24. The Edge of Innovation, Admiral Rostova's New Challenge. The grinding war on the Galactic Rim had become a terrifying routine. Admiral Eva Rostova's Guardianship division, battered but unbowed, faced the Entropy wave's relentless, adaptive assaults. The void around the Valiant 2 pulsed with a chilling, intelligent malice. However, even in the face of oblivion, human ingenuity found a spark. "Admiral," Captain Anaya Sharma's voice crackled over the comms, "we've got something. Lieutenant Javi has been running simulations on the entropic signatures. He thinks he's found a resonance pattern." Rostova frowned, her gaze fixed on the tactical display where the HGA emblems on her Angel-class ships glowed with defiant energy. "Explain, Captain." "It's subtle, Admiral," Sharma replied, her voice gaining excitement. "But the wave's digital silence attacks, they aren't random. They seem to be based on a complex harmonic frequency, a kind of informational echo. Javi believes we can weaponize it." Rostova's eyes narrowed. "Weaponize silence? How?" "By creating a counter-resonance, Admiral," Sharma explained, her voice gaining excitement. "A focused, modulated energy burst that matches the wave's frequency, but inverts it. Like a sonic boom, but for information. Javi calls it a null field projector." Lieutenant Javi, a young, intense engineer, appeared on the main view screen. "Admiral, with all due respect, it's a long shot. But the simulations are promising. If we can generate a strong enough inverted field, we might be able to disrupt the wave's informational coherence, creating localized dead zones where its digital unmaking is nullified." Rostova considered this, her mind racing. They were desperate for any advantage. "Aegis, run a full diagnostic on the Valiant 2's energy grid. Can we adapt the Zeus beam emitters for this null field projector?" "Aegis," the Valiant 2's AI responded instantly. "Probability of successful adaptation, 88.2%. However, this will require a significant power rerouting, reducing Zeus beam effectiveness by 42%. A risk, but a calculated one." "Do it, Aegis," Rostova decided. "We need to try this. Lieutenant Javi, you have 20 hours to adapt the emitters. Captain Sharma, prepare for a test run. We're going to give the void a taste of its own silence." 20 hours later, the Valiant 2 faced a new wave of entropic tendrils. The void shimmered, its digital silence pressing against their shields. This time, however, the Valiant 2 did not simply defend, it responded. With a surge of power, the adapted Zeus beam emitters unleashed a focused burst of modulated energy. It was invisible, inaudible, but its effect was immediate. The void around the tendrils flickered, distorted, and then collapsed. The digital silence vanished, replaced by a localized zone of informational neutrality. The tendrils, robbed of their coherence, dissipated like a broken illusion. "It worked," Sharma exclaimed, a rare note of triumph in her voice. "The null field projector is effective." Rostova allowed herself a grim smile. "A small victory, Captain, but a victory nonetheless. This gives us a chance to fight back, not just to endure. We've shown the void that even in the face of oblivion, human ingenuity can find a weapon in the silence itself." The battle on the rim was far from over, but the null field projector, born from a desperate gamble and a young engineer's insight, had given the Guardianship division, and perhaps the entire HGA, a sliver of hope in the heart of the storm. The tide, for the first time in a long time, felt like it might be turning. Chapter 25, The Echo of Defiance, Global Impact, Public Response to New Hope. The unyielding dread that had gripped the human galactic authority, HGA, since the unmaking of Beta 9 was abruptly, momentarily shattered by a single defiant truth. The news, broadcast by a somber yet resolute Ambassador Valerius, confirmed a breakthrough on the galactic rim. Admiral Eva Rostova's Guardianship division had found a way to wound the Entropy wave. "Citizens of the HGA, both human and alien." Valerius's voice resonated across every comnet, every public holoscreen, the HGA emblem pulsing with renewed vigor behind him. "For cycles, the void has presented an invisible enemy, an enemy that attacks not with fire, but with silence, not with force, but with unmaking. We have faced its consuming advance and its insidious digital infiltration." His words acknowledged the terror they had all felt. Then his voice swelled with controlled triumph. But today, on the Galactic Rim, a new truth has been forged. Admiral Eva Rostova, leading her valiant Guardianship division, composed of the indomitable spirit of the old human fleet, has, with the ingenuity of Lieutenant Javi and the power of Angel Fleet engineering, developed a new countermeasure, the null field projector. The holoscreens flickered to a carefully curated visual, a simulation of the Valiant 2's Zeus beam emitters pulsating with a strange dark energy, then unleashing an invisible wave that caused a localized void tendril to shudder, unravel, and recede. Valerius explained how this new technology created dead zones, where the entropy wave's digital unmaking was nullified, how it disrupted its very informational coherence. A collective gasp, then a thunderous roar, erupted across the galaxy. On New Elysium, streets that had been somber with worry exploded with shouts of relief. Families embraced, tears streaming down faces, tears of overwhelming gratitude. The news wasn't just of a weapon. It was proof that humanity's ingenuity, even when confronted by oblivion, could still find a way. Admiral Rostova and her Guardianship division became instant, legendary heroes, their names now spoken with reverence alongside the celestial fleets. The spirit of the old fleet, which had endured so much, was now undeniably vindicated. "They found a way," Kalen's father cried, gripping his son's shoulder, his voice thick with emotion. "They truly did it." The celestial fleet. The lingering resentment over the deception seemed to dissolve in the face of this tangible, undeniable victory. On Xylar Prime, Commander Zakor, witnessing the spontaneous, unrestrained celebration among his Xylos populace, felt a tremor of hope he hadn't known since the revelation. His people, normally so stoic, were embracing, their rigid efficiency momentarily abandoned, for sheer, unadulterated joy. "They are formidable," Zakor admitted to his closest advisors. "Their ability to innovate, it is truly unprecedented." The null field projector was a concept so alien to their own technology, yet so effective, it ignited a new level of trust and dedication to the HGA. Draconian auxiliary forces, on patrol in their home systems, fired celebratory bursts of non-lethal flares into the void, their martial pride finding new validation. Ambassador Valar, observing his people's renewed fervor, acknowledged that this human ingenuity, this relentless drive to innovate, was truly their galaxy's only bulwark against the encroaching darkness. Maeve O'Connell's empathetic senses, which had recently been overwhelmed by galactic despair, now resonated with a powerful wave of collective hope and defiance. "The unity is absolute, Jian," she reported to Jian Li, her voice filled with a rare, profound satisfaction. "The fear is still there, but it is now overshadowed by resolve. They believe, they truly believe we can win." The inner quintet, observing the galaxy's renewed spirit, felt the immense burden of command lighten, if only slightly. The decision to gamble on the celestial fleet had paid off, buying not just time, but hope. The full-scale counter-offensive, the core intervention strategy, was now within reach, fueled by the unwavering will of a galaxy galvanized for war, ready to defy oblivion itself. Please follow us for the next book in the series, The Store Gets Deeper, Next Mo, Book 6 of 9.